più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amor. Delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amor. Non più avrai questi bei panacchini, quel cappello leggero galante, quella chioma, quell'aria brillante, quel vermiglio d'onesco color, quel vermiglio d'onesco color. Non più avrai quei pennacchini, quel cappello, quella chioma, quell'aria brillante.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I've got a ticket to John F. Kennedy International Airport from Milan Malpensa, and you're coming along with me. Let's go. I'm starting my morning here at the Sheraton Hotel, which is directly across the street from the terminal. It's super convenient. I've got a 9 a.m. departure. I can't wait. What a great hotel this is. After a week in Italy, I spent my final night at this hotel since I had an early morning departure from Malpensa to JFK. It's a modern place, and one of the best features is that it's connected to the terminal that my flight is to depart from. All you need to do is leave the hotel from the rear side, and you don't even need to go outdoors. That's really convenient, especially when you have an international flight and need to arrive at the terminal 3 hours before departure time. This was filmed at 6 a.m. Why is it that in Europe, flights are listed by departure time rather than destination? If you know why, let me know in the comment section below. Before I get started with this video, make sure you check out my previous video where I flew to Malpensa. What a magnificent flight that was. It's a beautiful morning here at Malpensa Airport, and I'm enjoying the view out the window from the main check-in area. This is Hungarian carrier Wizz Air and Turkish Airlines of Turkey. This Neo Streamliner is at home here in Milan. While these flights are headed around Europe and the world, flights to the USA and Israel are directed to check in at a special check-in area away from the other flights. Today, I'm on flight Delta 199 headed to JFK. I had to wait about 20 minutes for this area to open before being allowed to go to the check-in area for Delta. I used the Sky Priority lane as I'm a Diamond. Check-in took about 3 minutes and was very efficient. Today, my seat will be in the main cabin aboard an Airbus A330. After dropping off my bag, I was told to follow signs to the gates, which interestingly brought me right back to the public check-in area for flights not headed to the USA or Israel. Eventually, I found my way to the security checkpoint. One moment, please. Typical for a European airport, you're forced to pass through a shopping area on the way to passport control, but I'm particularly fond of this one since they sell my favorite food here, pasta. After passport control, I headed on over to my gate, but made a quick stop at Motta restaurant for some food. Let's head on over to JFK. And there she is, the A330 that will take me from MXP to JFK. Let's board Delta 199 to New York. I'm headed to the rear of this plane. Welcome aboard the A330. The seating configuration of this aircraft is 2x4x2, and of course I have a window seat. Aren't these cabins just lovely before everybody boards? Come with me as we head to JFK today. Okay, 53 Alpha is my seat today. First step, of course, open up both windows. Now we're talking not as large as the Boeing 767, but still a nice view behind the wing here on the A330 today. I love the fact that there are just 2 seats by the window. They have a typical main cabin Delta mainline aircraft look. Overhead bin space in the A330 is plentiful and ready to accommodate bags for this full flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Delta Flight 199 to New York. As you get settled, we want to ask you to please place small items under the seat in front of you, and the larger items such as rollerboards in the overhead compartments. The overheads in the center of the aircraft are deeper and better for the bags with wheels. The captain has informed us that the flight time to New York will be 8 hours and 12 minutes from the moment from takeoff to landing.
Here's the view outside my window. This is a 3000 series A330, and at the time of filming this in 2023, it was 8.5 years old. My seat is on the left side of the plane for the views of Long Island on approach to JFK, but let's wait and see what the weather is like when we get there. So let's get the show on the road, or should I say, let's get the flight in the air. Andiamo. Here's the IFE screen. I'll only be using it for the map today. Here I'm taking a quick look at the safety card. Looking out my window, I can see that MXP is in a northerly flow today. This EasyJet A319 is on its way to Naples on runway 35 left in the Campania region of Italy. This is a LOT Embraer 175 and it's on its way to Warsaw, Poland. This British Airways A321 will be taxiing to the south to take off to the north as it prepares for its flight to London's Heathrow Airport in the United Kingdom. This airport has 2 parallel runways, and on the outboard runway, an Air Senegal A321 is landing on runway 35 right. It's coming from Dakar, Senegal. That was followed by a large Neos 787-900 inbound from a short flight from Rome, Italy's Fiumicino Airport. By now, that British Airways A321 to Heathrow is airborne. This is Air Dolomiti, an Italian regional airline sending an Embraer 190 to Munich, Germany. And now that Air Senegal is nice and close to us as it approaches the gate here on the ground at Malpensa. This EasyJet A320 is flying to Palma de Mallorca on an island in Spain in the Mediterranean Sea. It's now our time to join the varied mix of departures off of runway 35 left. We're pushing back now. This is a large aircraft, so careful coordination with the ground crew is necessary. We've got another heavy jet, an Etihad Dreamliner, right next to us. I'm loving the close-ups that our position provides of this 5-year-old aircraft. In the distance, as we wait for the tug to be removed, we can see the Alps. We'll be flying over them shortly after takeoff. If you haven't seen my previous video where my flight to Malpensa descended over the Alps, be sure to check it out. To get there, we need to start taxiing, and Malpensa Ground Control has instructed us to taxi to runway 35 left. Let's go! We're facing north as a result of the position that the tug put us in, but the beginning of the runway is in the opposite direction, so we'll turn around and taxi there. Malpensa is the 23rd busiest airport in Europe and the 2nd busiest in Italy after Rome's Fiumicino Airport. We had an expedited taxi to the runway, and I did not witness any aircraft taking off or landing on the 2 parallel north-south runways. Both runways are 12,861 feet long and head in a north-south direction. Today the wind is coming from the north, so we'll take off to the north. Our climb out won't allow us to climb straight out for very long due to the presence of the Alps, so we'll be turning to the left, which is good because west is the direction we'll need to fly in for our Atlantic crossing to New York today.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto Adolgino d'amor. Delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto Adolgino d'amor. Non più avrai questi bei panacchini.
As we get closer to the beginning of the runway with 0 taxi delays, we wait for the local controller to have us enter the runway and take off. With no traffic at all out there, we'll make a rolling takeoff. There will be no need to stop in position on the runway and wait. November 823 November Whiskey. Our aircraft is powered by 2 GE CF6 80E1A4 engines. This is part of the CF6 family of General Electric engines that typically power aircraft like the A330, 747, 767, and DC-10. They're high bypass turbofan engines. The particular version found on this aircraft type has the highest thrust power of its family. They're 168 inches, and there are 34 blades in each engine. Each engine weighs over 11,000 pounds. The 2 engines, combined with the airframe, help this aircraft have a range of 6,330 miles. This aircraft's cruising speed is 531 miles per hour. This is a large airplane with a wingspan of 197 feet 10 inches and a length of 208 feet 11 inches. Its tail sits 55 feet 3 inches off the ground. 34 passengers can enjoy Delta 1 with its lie-flat seats. There are 21 seats in Premium Select, 24 in Comfort Plus, and 203 in the main cabin. I'm one of those 203 today.
Cantante, poco cantante, ed invece del fandango una marcia per il fango, per montagne, per valloni, nevi e solioni al concerto di tromboni, di bombardie e di cannoni che le porre tutti i tuoni all'orecchio fan fischiar. Non più avrai quei pennacchini, non più avrai quel cappello, non più avrai quella chioma, non più avrai quella...
We're airborne and about to switch to the Milan radar controller for climb guidance. As we rotate, we experience what's called the positive climb, and the gear is retracted. I didn't hear the gear go up, but I didn't make much of it. That was a bit odd, but I was so focused on the left turn after takeoff since I'm seated on the left-hand side of the aircraft. We are over the town of Lombardy, and the river is the Ticino River, a tributary of the Po, which begins in Switzerland. In the forested areas below, there still exist trenches and parts of landing strips from World War II. We're going to roughly follow the path of the Ticino River to where it drains from Lago Maggiore, and we'll be able to see the southern shore of Lago Maggiore soon. We're making our initial climb out over the flatlands of the Po Valley by keeping west rather than heading to the foothills of the Alps and the very high elevation of the actual Alps after them. There are many scattered towns down below, including Villaro Pombia and Borgo Ticino, both of which we can see on the other side of the Ticino River. The Ticino River separates the Lombardy region and the Piedmont region of Italy, so these towns are both in Piedmont. Villaro Pombia has a safari park on its southern side, and Borgo Ticino takes its name from the nearby river. Once over the Ticino River, we'll be in Piedmont. Below in Piedmont is Castelletto sopra Ticino, which actually has a bit of a Celtic history which dates back to the Bronze Age. This town actually grew into a large trading town before the city of Milan was created. Milan clearly took over that position, and today is the second largest city in Italy. Below us, we can see how the Ticino River flows from Lago Maggiore, or Lake Major, as we turn to the left and get a glimpse of the lake's southern shoreline. Passengers on the right side of the plane will get the better view of the southern part of the lake, which sits on the border of Italy and Switzerland. Lago Maggiore is the largest lake in Italy. As we head west, the Alps are on the right side of the aircraft, and we continue our climb over the Po Valley, which is very flat. We're actually going to head slightly south of west towards Torino before turning back and right to fly over the Alps in Switzerland. Inside the cabin, I was disappointed to see that most of the passengers had their window shades down. They don't know what's in store for us soon. Also, while inside the cabin, I heard a loud thud around this point. I was taking in all the sights and didn't expect that sound at this particular point in flight. It wasn't possible to capture the sound on camera, but I heard it. A few moments later, the captain came on the PA system to apologize for the sound and to explain what it was. When we took off from MXP, I never heard the gear come up, and the pilot explained that since the gear was warm, he received a message to not retract the gear until several minutes into the flight to allow them to cool off in the open air. Here's part of the announcement that the captain made to the passengers.
Some of these airports, the brakes will get a little warm, and we had a message from the airplane saying that they just wanted to land or extend the landing gear for a few minutes to cool the brakes down before we climb over the mountain. So that's all that was. We're still on our way to New York, and there are no issues. So thanks for your understanding.
Yes, I definitely heard the landing gear go up way too late after departure. Interesting. Mystery resolved. That was quite interesting, and it's good to know that we'll be on our way to JFK with no issues moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, we've actually flown towards Torino, and we'll pass the city to its northeast before flying over the Alps. Spanning across 8 countries, the Alps are the largest mountain range in Europe, running 750 miles from east to west with a width of around 160 miles. We'll be crossing the Alps in the vicinity of Mont Blanc, which is on the border of Italy and France. This is further west than when we were on approach to Malpensa over the Alps in my previous video. The Alps can be treacherous, so I'm fortunate that I'm able to take it all in from the comfort of my seat on this Delta A330. Just like I did while on the plane, let's take a moment to enjoy the splendor of the Alps. Just past the Alps, situated by Lake Geneva, is the large city of Geneva, Switzerland, which has a population of 200,000. This is the French-speaking part of Switzerland. Geneva is a global city which is home to many prominent worldwide organizations. Next to the city is the Geneva International Airport, a hub for EasyJet Switzerland and a focus city for Swiss Airlines. Around this time, a United 767 is taking off for Newark and will roughly follow the flight path that we're taking out of Europe. After Switzerland, we'll be flying over France before we begin our North Atlantic crossing to North America. It'll be a long flight, so in the cabin, flight attendants started to prepare for the first meal service to keep the main cabin passengers full before we cross the pond. Here's the food. Unfortunately, the journey across France was cloudy, so I could not point out any of the sights below, and the clouds remained for the point at which we left the French coastline for the ocean. I guess it's time to take a break by going to the lavatory closest to my seat. Well, hello from one of the main cabin lavatories on this Delta A330. I absolutely love departures out of Malpensa. The view of the Alps is just stupendous. By the way, I want to ask you, if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button below? My channel provides a very unique look at aviation in a very different light, so I hope you enjoy what I produce. Clouds remained for the entire crossing of the North Atlantic. I wasn't able to see any other traffic out there, so let's fast forward to North America. We made landfall over Newfoundland as we contacted the Gander sector of Nav Canada, Canada's air navigation service provider. In the cabin, at the rear of this A330, flight attendants prepared for pre-arrival meal service for the main cabin, and I was handed this. Navigationally, after talking to Moncton, then the Boston Air Route Traffic Control Center, we began to set up for the PARCH arrival procedure to JFK for arrivals from the northeast. Occasionally, European arrivals take a much more northern route and approach JFK from the north on the Kingston 1 arrival from over Kingston, New York, but today we didn't fly that north over the North Atlantic. This being the first time I'm bringing the PARCH arrival to this channel, I was excited to show you the way, but like most of the flight, the cloud cover was just too intense. This route brings us over Boston, Massachusetts, where we start our descent, then Providence, Rhode Island. We'll then follow the entire length of Long Island to Rober, a fix-in-the-sky southeast of JFK and south of the south shore of Long Island. From around Rober, New York Approach Control, a radar facility located on Long Island itself, provides radar vectors to the final approach course. Today, the landing runway is runway 4 right, so the controller will vector us out over the ocean. Then, while over the ocean, we'll make a right turn to make right traffic to and land on runway 4 right. This right turn keeps us away from traffic to LaGuardia Airport, which is to the west of the final approach course. We're now at the eastern end of Long Island, descending to 12,000 feet and being guided to Rober. I was hoping for magnificent views of Suffolk County, and that's why I chose a seat on the left side of the plane. I really struggled here, and unfortunately, I did not get good sights of anything until we were under the clouds and over the Atlantic Ocean while receiving final vectors to the final approach course. The straight-in heading to the runway is 44 degrees, and right turns issued by the approach controller will get us there. As we join the final approach course, we get a good view of the northern portions of the Jersey Shore, New Jersey, up to Sandy Hook. After Sandy Hook, the water becomes lower New York Bay, and it's in that airspace above that aircraft arriving to LaGuardia are following the Corey arrival procedure before receiving vectors to their final approach course. For us, we're now cleared for the ILS runway 4 right approach and can switch to the control tower at Kennedy Airport for clearance to land on the 8,400-foot long runway. As we descend to below 1,500 feet, we cross the Rockaway Peninsula, also known as the Rockaways. This is the southernmost part of Queens, in the borough of New York City, in which we'll be touching down on shortly. We're specifically over the Avern part of the Rockaways, and the area just to its west is Rockaway Beach. The Rockaways border the southern edge of Jamaica Bay, an estuary which we have to fly over to land on runway 4 right, as well as the longer runway 4 left parallel to our path. This is an interesting part of Queens. In the middle of Jamaica Bay is the island community of Broad Channel, accessed by bridges on its north and south sides. It's the only inhabited island in the bay. We'll be seeing many uninhabited marshy islands right before we land. Broad Channel is on an island called Ruler's Bar Hassock and has around 3,000 people who live there. The average depth of water in Jamaica Bay is only 13 feet. This makes it a popular place for boaters who want to set out their anchors. What can you enjoy at anchor out here? Obviously, the arriving flights to JFK coming in at a low altitude. If the wind shifts from the other direction, well, boaters are still in luck because runway 22 right can be used for departures. In the foreground is Silver Hole Marsh, which is located on the final approach path to runway 4 left. Just past that is Joko March, which leads all the way to runway 4 left, which I'll zoom into before we land. From this position, we can briefly enjoy the view of Manhattan in the distance. Here we can see departures getting ready to take off on runway 4 left, the longer and parallel runway to our runway. This makes for a very efficient operation because arrivals and departures today are not crossing paths. Let's land on runway 4 right. As we vacate the runway, you'll recall that when we landed, we did see aircraft departing off of runway 4 left. We'll need to cross runway 4 left in order to get to the other side of the runway to get to the terminal area so that we can terminate our flight from Milan Malpensa today. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I strive to provide very unique content here on YouTube, and I ask you that if you're not a subscriber to my channel, to please consider subscribing. You will not be disappointed at the next videos that I'm going to be producing. Well, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you very, very soon in the sky. Ciao!